Greg Gonzalez, and born and raised in South Omaha. Come from a family of 6. Went to Omaha South High School. Graduated a long time ago, 1989. And then I went to UNO. Played some baseball at UNO, and then I was a Goodrich scholarship recipient. So it was really nice because I went to the Goodrich program. And then got my undergraduate at UNO in criminal justice, and then my master's degree. And then I teach currently even part-time in the criminal justice department at UNO and UNL. But I'm number 5 out of a family of 6, so I'm almost the youngest. You know, I have 2 older sisters and 3 brothers, and very involved in the community. And that's a little bit about me personally. I'm very active still in South Omaha in the community, and been in law enforcement now. It was 29 years, almost 29 years in June. Recently retired. I was assistant police chief at the city of Omaha, and I've had many different. I've had a blessed career. I've worked a lot of different units. I've worked violent crime units, and I worked a homicide unit, a gang unit. I supervised them. I worked a lot of different units, but I've also spent half of my career in management. So I know how to supervise people, which is very important for the sheriff's race. In the last 9 years, I've been assistant police chief, for Omaha Police Department, where I've hired over 450 police officers. And I'm proud to say some of the most diverse classes in the history of the police department. And, my emphasis, obviously, community engagement. Very involved in our police athletic league, our PACE program that you probably heard of. We have over 6,000 youth that play for free in our league. And so I'm very proud of kind of my career path and what I've been able to do to touch lives of young people in our city. Well, I've spent my whole career really planning for this moment. Wasn't my dream. Wasn't something that I was necessarily planning for. It just kind of fell in my lap, The current sheriff was there for over 25 years. So there hasn't been a sheriff's election for many years, and it was a great opportunity because it's an elected position where you're not only working for the people, you're working for the deputies. And it's an opportunity for me to take all my executive level experience, to the sheriff's office. And what a better time to do it after spending, 9 years as assistant police chief. And, I understand it. I know what it takes to be a sheriff. I have, from the budget experience to community policing to working violent crime units and understanding how to solve crime and work with the community to solve crime. Plus I've hired over 450 police officers. I know what it takes to hire classes that are reflective of the community, but to get quality candidates, into law enforcement, because that's tough today. A lot of people don't want to be police officers. It's a dangerous job. So we also want to attract, good candidates that can go work for the hand in hand with their community. I was a deputy. Now that's where I started my career. So I'd be the only candidate that's wore both an Omaha police uniform and a Douglas County Sheriff Brown uniform. And so that gives me the added advantage too, aside from my executive level experience, to walk in the door day number 1 and hit the ground running. And so I have a lot of endorsements from people, and actually the rank and file of the Sheriff's Fraternal Order Police has supported me. And they're looking for some new leadership, some new ideas, really how to modernize the department to continue to make sure it's a professional department that works hand in hand with the community. So those are some of the reasons that I'm running. My 3 goals are to improve not only the retention of deputies, but also to continue to improve the training for the deputies to ensure that they continue to be a high quality functioning department. But retention is important, and recruitment. How do we recruit people to become police officers? I feel like I'm the only candidate that has a remedy and a recipe to do that, because that's what I've done. Part of my responsibilities the last 9 years at Omaha Police Department. So that's number 1. And 2, we're always going to reduce violent crime, right? We all want to live in safe neighborhoods, right? We all want to make sure that we're working together to solve crime. So the reduction of crime not only includes taking violent offenders off the street, but that's sex traffickers, just to making sure our schools are safe, our community's safe, our kids are safe, domestic violence offenders. There's a lot of things that encompass violent crime. A lot of people just think of shooting suspects and murders. Well, of course we want to take bad people off the street, but there's a lot of victims out there that is considered violent crime. And we need to make sure that we continue to make sure we're working for all the victims of crime. And so and that's what I've done half my career. I've worked violent crime units, so I know how to solve crime. And so we'll continue to do that. So that's a big piece of it. The sheriff's office already does a really good job, and we're going to continue to build on that. And then lastly is community engagement. That's kind of my wheelhouse. That's my specialty. The sheriff's office, a lot of people, when I knock on doors, they go, what does the sheriff's office do? Well, they do a lot of the same things we do at the police department. Same units, it's just a smaller scale. So we need to get them more involved in like our PACE program. They need to have a bigger community policing unit, because the community wants to know who their police are and their deputies are, right? That's how we solve crime. We solve crime by working together, but we also have to make sure we build trust. And the only way we build trust is if we're out of our cars or they see us in cars. And the deputies have jurisdiction in the city limits. A lot of people don't know that. And so we need to make sure that the people in the community, including South Omaha and North Omaha and West Omaha, they know who the sheriffs, what they are, what they do, and how do we continue to build programming on gang intervention and prevention, and build and continue to reduce violent crime, gun crime. There was a recent article in the newspaper how juvenile crime is continuing to rise. Not only offenders, but victims. So we need to find better ways, and I will, as sheriff, to make sure that we're investigating in a multidisciplinary approach to address gun violence. Like, who's giving the guns to our kids? And how are they killing other kids? And that's part of that community policing piece, where if the kids and the families trust police, they work closer together, and we can hopefully continue to reduce that juvenile violent crime. And those are some of those goals that I plan on bringing as the next sheriff. Trust is really one of the biggest things. And when people call you, and people will call me all the time, and if they speak Spanish or English, or they want to talk to a law enforcement officer, it's nice to know a police officer or a deputy. And a lot of it's education. How do I get a driver's license? Where can I go where there's bilingual services to educate me how to get a driver's license? Maybe my daughter or my son's been running away a lot. How can I get services to help them? I got in an accident, I need to sign a fix-it ticket. There's a lot of things that occur, and the biggest thing is the community knows that you have friends in law enforcement to call when you need them. And you have an open door policy. I've always been, phone call away. We carry, cell phones, work phones. And I think the community need to understand that we're there for them, and that we continue to build trust with our community engagement programs, whether it's the Police Athletic League or gang intervention prevention specialists. And I mean the sheriff's office needs to continue to work with the dense populations. Yes, they may patrol a lot of times on the outskirts of the city, but they can still help out when needed in the city limits. And so a lot of people just want to know who they can call. So the goal is going back to also to making sure, one, you're available, two, they have a friend that they can contact. And they always have a friend or an open door policy. That's how I operate. Even myself and the chief of police, Chief Schmatter, and when as deputy chief of the police department, we always tell people, your immigration status, we're local law enforcement. We don't enforce immigration status. There's a federal law enforcement branch that enforces immigration. The reason is because it's designed for local law enforcement. We want victims to be able to call police or deputies, because we don't want victims to be scared to call police. So my message is, regardless of your status, if you're a victim of a crime, you call 911 and we're going to show up. If you need to make a police report, you call 911 and we're going to show up. Because that status should not be the determining factor of whether or not we help you. You know, we're here to help everybody. I would say vote for me because I have the experience of what it takes. You know, in elected positions, especially in our community, Latino community, it's less than 1%. Mm-hmm. And so it's important I'm a voice for the people in every part of this city. But I'm born and raised in Omaha. Went to Omaha South High School, but I have the experience of what it takes. You know, I rose the ranks all the way from police officer all the way to assistant police chief for the past 9 years. And I know how to work well with the community. That's what I would consider one of my strengths. And so what do we need in law enforcement today? We need to continue to build trust. And we need good leaders that are not scared to go out and work with the people, to continue to build trust, to continue to be innovative with programming, to know our community stakeholders, and to have an open door policy to make sure we're there. And most importantly, when they call 911, we're going to show up, and I'm going to promise them I'm going to show up. And if they call me, I'm going to return their phone call. So those are some of the things that separate me. And I'm the only candidate that's wore a brown uniform and a blue uniform. So I know the city, whether it's the city limits or the outskirts of the city, I'm going to make sure this whole community is safe. Well, I would tell them that they have a friend, you know, in law enforcement. And I want to work hard for the people of all of Douglas County. And if you want a sheriff that works for the whole, you know, county, I'm going to be that person. And I have an open door policy. I want to continue to build trust throughout the community. And it's going to be important for them to get out there and vote because I have the experience and I know what it takes to be the next sheriff of Douglas County.